Welcome to English via AI. Imagine a small town in England. The streets are narrow. The houses are simple. A young boy watches people carefully. He listens to their words. He notices their love. He notices their anger. He notices their jokes, fears, and dreams. Years later, this boy will write plays that the whole world still reads. His words will live for centuries. This is the story of William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born in Stratford-upon-Avon, England. His exact birth date is not known, but he was baptized on April 26, 1564. Many people traditionally remember his birthday as April 23rd. His father was John Shakespeare. John Shakespeare worked as a glovemaker. He also held local public positions in Stratford. His mother was Mary Arden. Mary Arden came from a farming family. William grew up in a market town. Stratford was smaller than London, but it was full of life. People came to buy and sell. They came to talk, argue, and celebrate. A young writer could learn a lot by watching people there. Years later, Shakespeare would fill his plays with many kinds of people: kings, servants, lovers, fools, parents, children. The small town gave him a deep view of human life. Shakespeare probably studied at the local grammar school in Stratford. There is no complete school record for him, but boys from families like his often receive this kind of education. At grammar school, students studied Latin. They read old Roman writers. They practiced speaking and writing. The lessons were strict. The days were long. But the training was powerful. It taught Shakespeare rhythm. It taught him stories. It taught him how language could move people. This is important. Shakespeare did not go to university, but he became one of the greatest writers in history. His education came from school, books, theater, life, and observation. He learned from everything around him. That became one of his greatest strengths. When Shakespeare was 18, he married Anne Hathaway. The marriage took place in 1582. Anne Hathaway was older than William. Together, they had 3 children. Their first child was Susanna. Later, they had twins named Hamnet and Judith. Family life became part of Shakespeare's world. But his life during these years is not fully clear. There are gaps in the records. Historians sometimes call this period the lost years. We do not know every detail of what Shakespeare did during this time. This is important for a real story. We should not invent facts. We know some things clearly, but we do not know everything. What we do know is this: by the early 1590s, Shakespeare was in London, and London would change his life forever. London was noisy, crowded, and exciting. It was the center of power, money, and entertainment. Theater was becoming very popular. People went to plays for drama, laughter, music, and escape. Shakespeare entered this world. He became an actor. He became a writer. He became a man of the theater. This was not an easy life. Theater companies had to work hard. They needed new plays. They needed strong actors. They needed audiences to pay. The city could also be dangerous. Disease sometimes closed theaters. Politics could make stories risky. But Shakespeare learned how the stage worked. He learned what made people laugh. He learned what made people cry. He learned how to hold an audience. London gave him a stage, and Shakespeare filled it with life. Shakespeare was not only a writer. He was also an actor. This helped him understand performance. He knew how words sounded on stage. He knew how actors moved. He knew how audiences reacted. This made his writing powerful. His plays were not made only for reading. They were made to be spoken. They were made to be performed. Shakespeare became connected with a theater company known as the Lord Chamberlain's Men. Later, under King James I, the company became the King's Men. This was one of the leading theater companies of the time. Shakespeare wrote many plays for them. He also became a shareholder in the company. A shareholder owns part of a business. This meant Shakespeare was both an artist and a businessman. He understood words. He also understood work. In 1599, the Globe Theatre opened in London. It became strongly connected with Shakespeare's plays. The Globe was an open-air theatre. People from different classes came to watch. Some people stood near the stage. Others sat in galleries. The atmosphere was lively. The audience was not silent, like in many modern theaters. People talked. People reacted. People cheered. People laughed. A play had to be strong to hold them. Shakespeare knew this. His plays had action. They had jokes. They had love. They had death. They had kings and clowns. They had deep ideas and simple fun. This is one reason his work lasted. He wrote for many kinds of people. Shakespeare wrote different kinds of plays. He wrote comedies. These plays often included love, confusion, jokes, and happy endings. A Midsummer Night's Dream is one famous comedy. Twelfth Night is another. He wrote history plays. These plays told stories about English kings and power. They helped audiences think about leadership, war, and national identity. He also wrote tragedies. These plays explored pain, ambition, jealousy, and death. Hamlet is one of his most famous tragedies. Macbeth is another. Othello and King Lear are also deeply powerful. Shakespeare understood human emotion. He knew people could be funny and sad. They could be brave and weak. They could be loving and jealous. They could be wise and foolish. His characters feel real because they are not simple. They are human. He also wrote 154 sonnets. A sonnet is a short poem with a special structure. His sonnets often explored love, beauty, time, and loss. This showed that Shakespeare was not only a playwright, he was also a great poet. Shakespeare had a special gift with words. He used English in a rich and creative way. He made old words feel new. He used strong images. He created lines that people still remember. Many phrases from his plays became part of English culture. Some are still used today, but we must be careful. Not every famous English phrase comes from Shakespeare. Some claims are repeated too easily. What is certain is this: Shakespeare helped shape English literature. His writing showed how flexible English could be. It could be funny. It could be beautiful. It could be sharp. It could be emotional. For English learners, Shakespeare can be difficult, but his influence is everywhere. He helped make English a language of drama, poetry, and deep feeling. Shakespeare became successful during his lifetime. He was respected as a playwright and theater professional. His company performed for public audiences. It also performed for royal audiences. This was a major achievement. Theater was entertainment, but it was also business. Success meant people wanted more of his work. Shakespeare earned money from writing, acting, and his share in the theater company. He later bought a large house in Stratford called New Place. This showed that he had become wealthy and respected. He did not remain only a poor writer in London. He built a life. He supported his family. He moved between London and Stratford. His success came from talent, but it also came from discipline. He wrote again and again. He created work that audiences wanted to see. Shakespeare lived during a time when disease was a serious danger. The plague returned many times in England. When plague spread in London, theaters often closed. This was a major problem for actors and writers. If theaters closed, companies could not perform. If they could not perform, they could not earn money. This forced writers and performers to adapt. Shakespeare's career was shaped by this uncertain world. The stage could be full one month, then it could be closed the next. This reminds us that art does not happen outside history. It happens inside real life. Disease, politics, money, and public fear all affected theater. Still, Shakespeare kept writing. He kept creating. He turned a difficult world into lasting art. In his later years, Shakespeare spent more time in Stratford-upon-Avon. He remained connected to theater, but he slowly stepped back from full-time work in London. His final years were quieter. He had built a strong career. He had written plays that were already important. William Shakespeare died on April 23, 1616, in Stratford-upon-Avon. He was 52 years old. He was buried in Holy Trinity Church in Stratford. His death ended his life, but it did not end his work. 7 years later, in 1623, a major collection of his plays was published. It is known as the First Folio. Without the First Folio, many of his plays might have been lost. This book helped protect his legacy. It gave future generations access to his work. The First Folio is one of the most important books in English literature. It was published by Shakespeare's friends and fellow actors, John Heminges and Henry Condell. They wanted to preserve his plays. This was very important. In Shakespeare's time, plays were made for performance. They were not always carefully saved as books. Some plays were printed during his life, but many were not. The First Folio collected 36 plays. It included famous works such as Macbeth, Julius Caesar, and The Tempest. Without it, some of these plays might not have survived. The First Folio helped turn Shakespeare from a successful playwright into a permanent part of world literature. It carried his words into the future. William Shakespeare's legacy is enormous. He is widely seen as one of the greatest writers in the English language. His plays are performed around the world. They are translated into many languages. They are studied in schools and universities. Actors still dream of performing his great roles. Directors still find new ways to show his stories. His work has survived because it speaks about human life. Love, power, jealousy, fear, friendship, ambition, loss, hope. These feelings do not belong to one time. They belong to all people. That is why Shakespeare still matters. His current status is clear. He passed away in 1616, but his words are still alive on stages, screens, and pages around the world. Shakespeare is famous, but some questions about his life remain. We do not know everything about his childhood. We do not know every detail of his lost years. We do not have many personal letters from him. Because of these gaps, people have asked many questions. Some have even questioned whether Shakespeare wrote the works connected to his name. Most Shakespeare scholars accept that William Shakespeare of Stratford wrote the plays and sonnets. The evidence connects him to the theater world, his company, and the First Folio. But the questions show something important. Shakespeare's life still creates curiosity. His art is so great that people want to know more about the man behind it. The mystery adds another layer to his story. We know his works clearly, but the man himself remains partly hidden. So what can we learn from the life of William Shakespeare? His story carries powerful lessons. The first lesson is about observation. Shakespeare watched people carefully. He understood human nature. The second lesson is about language. Words can move hearts. Words can shape history. The third lesson is about hard work. He wrote many plays and sonnets. He kept creating. The fourth lesson is about imagination. He built worlds that people still enter today. The fifth lesson is about lasting impact. A person's work can live long after their life ends. William Shakespeare's life reminds us of something simple but powerful. A story can begin in a small town, but with imagination and skill, it can reach the whole world. Vocabulary, meanings and examples from the story. Playwright, a person who writes plays. Example, he was respected as a playwright and theater professional. Theater, a place where plays are performed. Example, the Globe was an open-air theater. Audience, the people who watch a performance. Example, the audience was not silent, like in many modern theaters. Comedy, a funny play or story, often with a happy ending. Example, A Midsummer Night's Dream is one famous comedy. Tragedy, a serious story that often ends in sadness or death. Example, Hamlet is one of his most famous tragedies. Sonnet, a short poem with a special structure. Example, he also wrote 154 sonnets. Character, a person in a story or play. Example, his characters feel real because they are not simple. Phrase, a short group of words with meaning. Example, many phrases from his plays became part of English culture. Influence, the power to affect people or things. Example, his influence is everywhere. Shareholder, a person who owns part of a business. Example, he also became a shareholder in the company. Plague, a dangerous disease that spreads quickly. Example: the plague returned many times in England. Legacy: what a person leaves behind and is remembered for. Example: William Shakespeare's legacy is enormous. Grammar tip: could for ability and possibility. We use could to talk about ability in the past. Example 1. It could be funny. We also use could to talk about possibility. Example 2. It could be beautiful. Example 3. It could be sharp. A simple way to remember: use could for past ability or possible situations. William Shakespeare began as a boy from a small town in England. Through language, imagination, and hard work, he became one of the greatest writers in history. He wrote about love, power, jealousy, fear, comedy, tragedy, and loss. He wrote 154 sonnets and many famous plays. His life ended in 1616, but his words still travel across the world. His story reminds us that language can live longer than a lifetime. What story would you like to leave behind? If you enjoyed this story, please like this video. Share it with a friend who needs to hear it, and comment below with one lesson you will carry with you. Subscribe to English via AI for more real stories that help you learn English, one journey at a time. Keep learning, keep building.